You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Ian, look at this.
What, it's a police box? What on earth is he doing here? I mean, these things are usually on the street. Oh, feel it. Feel it, you feel it?
Faint vibration.
It's alive.
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup celebrating nearly 50 years of Doctor Who universe. Hold tight. You never know where the TARDIS is going next.
You're probably a bit confused right now. I broke the glass. It's all come back to me.
What is this?
That's my ship.
What?
Let me take it from the top. Hello, I'm the Doctor. I'm a traveller in space and time. And that thing buried down there is called a TARDIS. Time and relative dimension in space. You're gonna love this.
Hey there, listeners, and welcome to another episode of the Earth Station Who podcast. Thank you all for joining us, and we are going back this time to the Third Doctor era. We are looking at the Time Monster, which features Joe Grant and John Pertwee's Doctor, taking on, of course, the Master, played by Roger Delgado. It should be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a great story, which this is my first time actually seeing. So it should be interesting, and we've got a great crew to talk to you guys tonight. Let's, of course, say hi to Mr. Mike Gordon.
Howdy.
How are you this week, sir?
I am fine and dandy.
Cool. You ready to go to see those science experiments where they play with time?
I am ready to go to Cambridge and maybe even stop off in Atlantis on the way.
Ooh, that would be a lot of fun. And, of course, we have Mary Ogle here. Howdy, Mary.
Hi, everybody. It is fantastic to be here.
You all ready to go explore and see a giant white chicken flying around the room?
I have never been more ready to see a guy in a sheet and a mask.
It should be a lot of fun to see. And I'm going to say, folks at home are ready to hear this one, too. It's been a lot of fun to talk about all the things we've been lately. And we were at the 10th Doctor last time. It's kind of nice to go back into the old series. And we definitely would love to hear from you guys at home. Please write us at earthstationwho@esonetwork.com. We definitely would love to hear and see what you guys thought on this one. This is classic Pertwee all the way. And it was a 6-parter that we get to talk about tonight. So it should be cool. So definitely let's jump in with both feet, because there ain't no Doctor Who news to talk about. So, I don't even think they had any news at San Diego Comic-Con, at the virtual one.
Such as it was. Yeah.
Well, exactly, because they had a Red Dwarf panel, but they didn't have a Doctor Who panel.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think there's anything going on.
Nah, it's interesting to see, all the different panels that they did virtually, but Doctor Who was a glaring omission. I don't know if they just decided not to send anybody, or they're just, like what we've been saying, there isn't anything to talk about. So we are going to go back now to the 20th of May, 1972. We were all around by that point, so it's kind of cool, kind of cool actually. And this is Pertwee at his best, and this is just he is just right on his game, and it's a classic unit story. It's a classic, Doctor versus Master story, and I enjoyed it. Like I said earlier, this was my first time seeing this one. What about you guys?
It is my first time also, and I also enjoyed it.
Hey, I'm not the only one that's see it for the first time this time. That's rare. That's rare. Usually I'm like the only newbie. But yeah, this is my first time, of course. So, but I didn't enjoy it as well. I did.
This was interesting. It was written by Robert Solomon and Barry Letts, but Barry Letts was uncredited for it. But it was.
And I think at this point in time, you have to consider that Barry and Terrence had something to do with every script and every story that you see, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Oh, very much so. And they get the continuity down. They're trying to tie it all together and keep the people in character and such. And it was awesome. This is the one. We've watched like the different Master stories that they did because the Master was introduced at the beginning of this season. And this is the one I felt like he was the most mastery that we were used to. Does that make sense though?
No, absolutely. I haven't seen the Delgado Master a lot. This is probably my third or fourth outing seeing him. Which seems like it should be a lot, but I think he probably did like another 3 or 4 or 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this one I thought he just dominates the entire story. Usually, like I'm used to him like coming in at the end, like going, "Ha ha! It was me all along." This time, it's. I mean, he's right there from the beginning.
It is him all along.
It is. Yeah, he doesn't even try to put on a disguise to be the professor.
No. He puts on a suit.
Exactly.
I actually thought it was pretty cool seeing him work in the lab with the assistants and everything. It felt genuine. It felt like, yeah, exactly.
He's very professory.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like, and until they started doing the experiment and, he said, come, Kronos, come, he felt like he was fitting. It was like he was like in a secret identity type thing, truly undercover working on his project. And he was fitting into the role. And, of course, he had to hypnotize the dean, to pretend like he was there all along.
Yeah, but what professor doesn't want to hypnotize their dean?
Exactly.
I mean, that's what deans are for.
Don't 50% of them do that anyway? So, I mean, I actually, to be honest, don't think this is particularly well written. I mean, it's just the plot's kind of all over the place, what little there is of it, but it is just such fun to watch. It's just this goofy fun, charming. The Doctor and Joe just seem to be having a good time. They seem to really like each other, which was nice to see. It wasn't a Doctor that was being hostile.
Oh, not at all. But it was like the way he was talking to Joe in this. It's like it was right out of that Stephen Moffat story he did for the Red Nose Day that he did a few years, probably about 16 years ago, when it had Mr. Bean being the Doctor.
Oh, Curse of Fatal Death.
Yeah, it felt like when he was talking to her and he was like, "I'll explain it to you later, Joe," multiple times. And then
okay.
And then the scenes when the Doctor was chasing after the Master in his TARDIS and they were up on the video screen, it's like, I could still see you. That was like right. That was right out of it, which was awesome.
I think to Mary's point, the plotting of this story is very convoluted. But it does go all over the place, but it gets by through charm and characters. Starting with the Doctor and Joe, who I found, I know we've given Joe Grant like a lot of heat here in the past on this show. But I just found her in this like charming. She's not the brightest bulb in the shed, but she admits that, and yet she's got compassion. She cares, and she trusts the Doctor like ultimately, like more than like a lot of people should. Like she just is willing to like think, I mean, even maybe stupidly so, she like is just like, hey, if he's there, I'm gonna be fine. And then of course you have on the other end, you have Delgado, who chews up scenery every chance he gets. He's amazing. And I thought, man, when we finally get to like, episode 4 or 5 or whatever, I was like, whew, now they're in Atlantis. Where's this going to go? And then you get Ingrid Pitt, and I'm like, okay, I don't care. Just keep on going. Keep on going. Another 4 or 5 episodes. I'm all right with this. So, and the rest of the characters are cool too. The scientists, the master's assistants, are kind of cool in their own way. And
both of them are good, strong characters.
Oh, very much so. You had one that was a total feminist and one who was a total dweeb. So, and it was awesome. I loved, he got hit with the Cronus ray and aged, and he was like all, hysterical, and and then he woke up and he says, "I'm 26 years old. How can I look this way?" That was just pretty awesome. But you felt for them, and you felt like you were getting to know these characters, and because they had time, they did not rush the story, but it wasn't boring.
No, they did not rush.
No, they had plenty of time to develop it.
Yeah, but it was not like some 6-parters that we've seen in the past where you wish they were 4. This fit 6 episodes.
Yeah, it didn't really drag. I mean, there was filler in it, but it was fun. It was still fun to watch.
Yeah, and
it had filler,
and it had an epic quality to it. I mean, it starts small in a little college in Cambridge or whatever in England, but then we go to Atlantis, which is a big deal. And we start running into minotaurs and stuff like that, and it's pretty. And then you have all the stuff with the time space thing. I don't even know what they're just making
they
up
weren't
words.
even trying.
Was it I'm going to give you a time bump or something?
Time ram.
Yeah. Time ram.
Doctor, you wouldn't. Oh, yes, I would.
There's a lot of subtext in this story.
A lot.
And Mike, what you said, it's a unit story. So we get the Brig, we get Yates, we get Benton, and they all have great moments that we care about. I mean, Benton like almost captures the Master twice, which is on his own, which is pretty outstanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he felt for the old, hey, who's behind you? Yeah.
Yeah. The oldest trick, not the second oldest.
The oldest.
The oldest. And we got to see more of Benton than we ever wanted to see. So,
well, thank God it was TV, because a lot of people did, but we didn't. So that's good.
Yes, exactly. So
I don't want to change Benton's diaper. I was like, are we going to get baby Benton for a while? That'd be funny.
But it was interesting, though, because, Benton sometimes comes off as a real doofus, but he was smart enough not to, when the Master disguised his voice as the Brigadier, he was smart enough to know that it wasn't, and, get the drop on the Master.
Yeah.
If only
just
as little as that could,
If only he had just pulled the trigger. Like, there's a couple times where I'm like, you've got the gun, just pull the trigger.
Go for it.
Exactly. Although
you're a military type.
Although then he would have, regenerated into Ansley, and then we would have got a Master.
No, he would have been like the Skeletor version of himself.
Oh, that's in between, right?
Yeah. So.
There's some weird stuff going on that little doohickey that the doctor uses to track time disturbances looks a little too phallic, I think.
Oh, my God. This whole, I swear they were doing it on purpose, because this whole episode is filled with stuff like that.
Yes. Hell, that 3-pronged crystal right there. Come on. it's like the trident shaped. It was like, yeah, okay, we know what it's supposed to be. But it was interesting.
Gotta keep mom and dad happy.
Oh, of course. Got to keep the parents interesting. They had to do something till Leela came around. Come on. So it was interesting, though. I liked it
well, you
that
had
it
the
started.
Atlantis queen. She was pretty out there, if you know what I mean.
Yes, she was. She was falling out everywhere.
That's what I'm saying. Ingrid Pitt, man. I mean, sign me up. I'll go to Atlantis and die with the rest of them.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking, I feel like this was where Endora from Bewitched grew up. This is her younger self.
But I mean, and Jo, just walking. I mean, that's what she's there for, right? She's got her short skirts and she's just all flirty.
Her boots, boots.
Her high boots, and she's but she looks darling, and when she gets up and she changes outfits in Atlantis, and I'm like, where'd she get all that hair?
Yeah, I thought that too. It's like, wait a minute.
She got it from the hair extension shop over in the corner. Come on.
How long have they been down there?
No, it was interesting. I liked how it started with the doctor's dream at the beginning of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And you had the master eating up the scenery right away. And then the volcano and everything like that. It was just like, it was cool. And then him trying to figure out what it was. But the one thing that got me with this was I loved how they went from story to story. But, so basically, since the doctor technically could not fly the TARDIS still at this point, because he doesn't get that ability again until after the 3 doctors.
Right.
And so he basically just has the TARDIS piggybacking on the Master's TARDIS.
No, and he uses that doohickey, that phallic doohickey.
Yeah. And everything.
Which is the name we shall call it from now on.
The
exactly.
phallic doohickey.
The phallic doohickey.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. And then when the one thing that lost me was when among many other things, but when the doctor got, I guess, thrown into the time stream by Kronos, and how, since he was mentally tied to the TARDIS was able to bring him back or something, teleport him back into it.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't really.
It was very hand wavy. There was like a million hand wavy moments.
Exactly, but it was like what, because Doctor Who, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but it was the kind of story where you didn't really care because the characters were so much fun to watch.
And Joe Grant's coccyx saves them all.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
They even say it twice. My what?
You're what?
I know, right? And then the master gets in on it.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, we're all just sitting around the TARDIS talking about Joe Grant's coccyx. Nice.
No, it was
that's Doctor Who history right there.
Oh, of course it was. And we got to see the members of UNIT running in slow motion and then frozen.
I will say,
for an
to
episode
me,
or two.
like, Benton's shown the most in this story. I think he really impressed me. Of course, Yates gets a moment where, like, I mean, we really feel for him because he almost gets blown up. And that's pretty, for a while, for a minute there, you're thinking, oh, is this the end of Yates? But, Brigg, I was not like, this was kind of a weak story for him. And there was a couple times where, I mean, I know traditionally it's his job to be like, doctor, you're not making any sense, or I need something, more tangible, or whatever. But you'd think by now, when the doctor's like, I sense danger because of a dream I had, like, he would be like, okay, you have never steered me wrong, so I'm going to go with this. Although, I guess to be fair, he does put an A1 alert out, right?
Yes, he does.
So, but he gives him crap for it.
Yeah, well, I thought that too when I was thinking, this is what you have a problem with? All the dream thing, all the stuff he's done that is just incredibly ridiculous.
Well, and then when he's building that little doohickey, and which looks ridiculous, I grant you, but still, the two people who are newbies are like, this makes no sense. Joe Grant is completely on board. She's like, you just watch, it's going to work. But even the brig kind of, stabs the doctor in the back by going, that's just silly. Just stop it and let's do something else. I'm like, dude, like, this is your guy. Like,
yeah, he is your scientific advisor. Come on, you're supposed to see silly doofy things.
Yeah, he's the only one who actually knows what's going on, because God knows the rest of us don't in this story. So yeah, you might want to cut him some slack.
And this is another one of those stories where the master basically doesn't have really any end game except for destroying reality once again.
I think it's great that he's honest about it here. I'm not as privy to like some of his other stories to know. Usually he just has these crackpot plots that I don't know where he's coming from. But in this one, like when the doctor confronts him, he pretty much says, yes, let it like all burn. Like, I'm just like, okay, this is a scary dude, because he does not care about the universe or himself or anything. He just is like, let's go down with it. Like, I mean, he calls the doctor's bluff when the doctor's gonna take both TARDISes out. And yeah, he absolutely doesn't care. And I think that puts him a step above some of the other master stories here that we've seen. Because otherwise he just kind of, looks like he has no purpose. But here he has a purpose. And this purpose is to destroy everything.
No, exactly. This master, he almost won. He really did.
Yeah, he actually came very close.
I mean, he could have lived out his life on Atlantis with Ingrid Pitt. and he chose not to. If that's not saying,
my God, Master, what do you need?
If that's not a sign of insanity, I don't know what is.
No, you're completely right.
And fast forwarding to the latest incarnation of the Master, if they were to bring that element of him back, I think that would help that character a lot. The fact that we've had a couple of masters. Missy had there was hope in her, like as far as being able to turn that character around a bit. It'd be great if we just went the other way now and had a doctor who just wanted to. I mean, he kind of does, but I wasn't convinced of it as much. Not like Delgado. Like Delgado, and he says he wants to like let it burn. I'm like, yeah, he's going to pull the trigger. He means it.
Oh yeah, he's going to do it. It's not like, come on, doctor, you got to stop me. Come on, But no, you think he is going to do it, and he has every plan to do it. And, he doesn't care if all space and time is destroyed by Kronos. He basically, he'll have the satisfaction knowing that he's the one who brought it on.
Yeah, that's what he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And that's what makes it even more interesting across the board. It's just like, boom. And he's, he does his plans, and especially this one, is just like, I'll destroy it. I'll destroy Atlantis. I'll destroy the universe. If you think about it, his actions brought across the destruction of Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
And how many thousands of people were killed because of the master. They don't even really go into it in this, but that happened and everything. And it's just like, okay, he is a sick man.
Yeah, he is a bad guy here.
Yeah, he's not like shrinking people or doing anything silly.
No.
Like, I mean, he uses his, in the beginning, he uses his hypnotism, that skill, on the Dean and everything. But, later on when he tries it against, the king of Atlantis there, Dalios, I think, right? It doesn't work, and I love that scene. That guy Dalios is good too. Like, there's a lot of great actors, like characters in this, and he's fun. I love him.
Yeah, he's just so old. He does not taking anybody's stuff anymore. He's had it.
Yeah.
So he's like, look, you're not fooling me. I see right through you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's like, fool, you're not going to get to me. That doesn't work for me. And supposedly this guy is like 5,000 years old or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's this ancient. They don't explain anything about why he is around, why he's, does he have these powers or what? And then he dies simply, by when he's thrown into the jail with the doctor and Joe.
He gets knocked on the head.
Yeah. That's all it took?
Yep.
Well, he was old. When you're that old, little knock on the head, that's all it takes.
Yeah, good point.
If I got a knock on the head now, that would probably put me out for a long time. So I get it. Look, I'm a big fan of Greek Roman mythology. I like the fact that I recognize character names in this, but they're not used to any great skill or meaning in terms of myths that I'm familiar with anyway. They mention names like Kronos and Poseidon and Zeus and everything, but they're not really.
They don't go anywhere with it.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're not really looking at the actual lore like I said, that I'm familiar with. This is not a king of the Titans that I'm familiar with. Like, when I saw that, KKK reject flying around, I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but this is not an interpretation of Cronus that I.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. I think they could have done a better job on the guy in the sheet hanging from wires.
Oh,
really, that was the best you could do.
It's like, oh, there's a reject from Chicken Town right there. We got it.
He is the weakest part of this story by far.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because he's the whole plot of the main plot of the entire epic. But it's weak.
Yeah. Nope, yeah. I definitely think so. And it was just like, he's coming back. And you see the little one and it grows or whatever out of the crystal. And it was just like, oh, geez.
Don't come back.
No. And, they just put a poor guy on the strings and they were pushing him around the floor.
Yeah,
and
he's getting bashed into the scenery.
Yeah, he's just swinging around, hitting the wall. Donk, donk, donk. I can't see. Donk, donk.
Donk, donk, donk. But the Star Wars tie-in for this, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yep. There's definitely a Star Wars tie-in with this.
Very young Darth Vader.
Exactly. He's the Minotaur.
Yep.
Oh,
well, I say very young. He's like, that's 5 years younger. It's 5 years before Star Wars.
Before it comes out, yep.
Yeah. But David Prowse is in some serious shape in this. Like, I know he was a bodybuilder, and that's what kind of got him work. That and his size got him work with BBC and Hammer Productions back then. And he was trainer to a lot of, he trained Christopher Reeve for the first Superman movie. And you can see why, because I wouldn't have recognized him without seeing his name on the credits. But
right.
he's an extremely.
Well, how would you? He's got a bull head.
Well, yeah, but he's just like,
he's a jacked up Minotaur.
He's a jacked up Minotaur. Although, the whole Spanish bull rider thing.
That was awesome.
That I actually hated in this. I hated it. I thought it was so stupid. I thought this has nothing to do with anything. It makes no sense at all. Not that anything else did, but
after the Minotaur threw the other guy through the mirror or whatever, or glass, and then it's like, then the doctor came in and going, bull, ha, ha. And it's just like, oh, jeez.
That was, just dumb.
And then he used his Venusian judo on the back of him. Ha!
As you do.
As you do, of course. As you do. So, yeah, it was, that was pretty bad. Okay. I can't even say.
No. I mean, look, if you like the cheesiness of it, that's fair. That's fair. There's a lot of cheese here.
Dude, I love cheese. But yeah, that was just even a little too much for me. So, but yeah, it was an interesting episodes of story, and overall I liked it. I thought, like I said earlier, I thought it moved very smoothly, and it was neat. I loved how the Master was playing with time, with bringing like the night in and the World War II airplane to bomb the TARDIS and the convoy and everything.
I like the idea of it, but it seemed it seems short used that it didn't really play out that well.
Yeah, it wasn't executed very well. Well, maybe the plane part, but the other parts,
I couldn't even see the plane half the time.
Yeah, but I mean, just the implication of the plane coming to bomb, to bomb Yates. I mean, that was actually kind of effective. But...
I thought so. The way they handled that and the way they just stopped and were like, Yates. And it was like, and then seeing, the result of that, and Yates was pretty badly off. And that was effective, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we didn't need the round heads. I mean, that was filler.
Yeah,
and really, like, the knight with the jousting stick is kind of like, that's not.
Yeah, that's.
No, don't need that.
Just shoot him,
Yeah, any modern convoy would just run over that guy with the,
Right.
Yeah, or if the brigadier was driving it, just go. And, but no, they had to fall off the side. Oh, we got stuck in the mud. Oh. So, yeah. What did you guys think of that one priest guy who the Master brought through time?
Oh, Crassus.
Yeah.
Is it Crassus? Yeah. He was just kind of the sniveling guy, He's actually the one character that was really kind of meh for me. He's not very likable, and he's just sort of following Delgado around, and he's overshadowed by Delgado.
Oh,
at every time.
anyone is,
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Pertwee was barely, they were pretty equal, but there was times when you lost Pertwee in the scene because Delgado was just eating everything up.
Except I didn't notice him as much when Ingrid Pitt was on the screen.
I think Mike's tried to make a point here. I don't know.
Yeah, I think.
Have I made that point? I don't know. Am I being too subtle?
I think Ingrid Pitt made a couple of points.
About as subtle as a phallic doohickey.
I love, though, the doctor's TARDIS is, of course, stuck in the police box form, but the Master's is supposed to be a working TARDIS that's supposed to change. And it went, when they went back to Atlantis, it stayed as the computer banks.
Yes.
Did they now? They also good points, because a couple of things I want to make points about the TARDIS is that we've got a new interior design, which I noticed first in the Master's TARDIS, and then when they switched to the Third Doctor's TARDIS, I was kind of like, oh, well, they were just lazy and they just wanted to keep that set up. But apparently,
all they did was change the center column.
But apparently, they were legit going to change the interior of his TARDIS as well. But Barry Letts didn't like it, and then there was some damage to it, and so they never. They
just said forget it.
Yeah, they just forget it. But I kind of like it. I especially like it. I like it when there's a difference between like the Masters and the Doctors. I wish they had sort of made that a bit clear. But here I am always complaining that the round things look so disgusting later on because they just never have thrown them out. And here we get new round things and they look pretty good. I wish they'd stuck with those, actually.
Mm-hmm. I thought they looked pretty awesome.
The other question I have for you guys, because I'm not as familiar, but is this the first time we get a TARDIS within a TARDIS within a TARDIS thing?
Yes.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Well, you have to remember, before the Doctor met up with the Master, he didn't really
there was no other TARDISes.
There were no other TARDISes.
Right.
The only time you ever saw any other TARDISes and you didn't go into them, was during the second Doctor story, War Games.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were using Time Lord technology to transport.
That's true. So, and is this the first time where we get a TARDIS versus a TARDIS? Because, I know that this is not the first Master TARDIS story. So
no, but the Doctor before this didn't really ever use the TARDIS during the third Doctor era. He was always trying to repair it. You have to remember, the next story after this is the Three Doctors.
True.
And that's where he gets the TARDIS back fully.
That makes sense.
He gets the ability to
drive it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well, that's cool. I mean, that was really fun, seeing a TARDIS within a TARDIS, and then they have them playing around with that. I like that a lot. That's something that you don't see very often in classic Who. It's something that, I think that, Stephen Moffat would really, that's the kind of stuff that he really likes and brings to the table later on. Literally when he does a TARDIS within a TARDIS, I think.
Well, exactly. Well, the next time you see a TARDIS inside of the TARDIS is when in Legopolis. I think this is
really?
The next time. Yeah. I think that's when, the next time you see that happen.
Gotcha.
And that's the end of Tom. So that's over probably almost 10 years later that so you don't get to see that for a bit.
Stepping away from the TARDIS a little bit, the other thing I wanted to mention too is, we talked a little bit about the relationship between the Doctor and Jo. When they're captured and they're just sort of sitting there, and Joe's, pretty upset. They have a scene together where he tells a story about his childhood, and I like that a lot. I love those little moments, those little Doctor and companion moments, and I thought that scene to me, like I said, I know we haven't been given Jo. I haven't given Jo Grant much in terms of much props in terms of her as a character. But recently I saw Day of the Daleks, and then in this one, and my opinion of Jo Grant is like growing big time. Cause I definitely think that, she's not, what did one of our co-hosts call her, a big bag of hair? Like, I think she's a lot more than that. And not just the short skirts and the long boots, but the just the compassion she seems to bring, as well as the trust that she has in the Doctor, and she catches on. There's almost every time in a story now, there's a point where the Doctor dismisses her, and she says something, and he's like, "Oh, that," like he's surprised. So she's constantly surprising him as well, and I think they did something to give her a little bit of credit. And she's not just there for. I mean, obviously she is there for looks, but
nope, it's exactly. But no, I thought the chemistry between Jo and the Doctor was great.
Oh,
I thought
definitely.
And,
that was just really nice to watch.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And, it was a good feeling, and we didn't get that many Doctor and Brigadier scenes in this. Like
I said, he's pretty weak in this.
Yeah, it's not a great Briggs story.
Yeah, so it's a fun unit story, but it's not a great Briggs story.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with, seeing, we still have plenty of Pertwee still to go. We haven't seen and everything. So there's a lot of, Doctor and Brigadier moments we still have to go, which is pretty awesome.
I was trying to think of it. Have we covered her last? Because I was trying to remember how and why she leaves.
She falls in love with a scientist.
Have we done that one yet?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we have not. I think that's the is that the Green
Oh, you
Death?
guys haven't done that one? Yeah. I've seen it, but I don't know if you guys did.
I've seen that one, but we haven't done it on the show yet.
Okay.
So I think
what's that one called?
I think it's The Green Death.
Is it The Green Death?
I think so. Could tell you in a second.
Yeah, the Green Death. It says is her last appearance.
Yeah, she goes off with a scientist
to the Amazon rainforest.
Well, they kind of mentioned,
which is a total fit for her. Yeah.
In the Sarah Jane Adventures, they kind of mention that she's, she spends her time post-doctor, doing environmental things. So that makes sense. But like I said, I don't think I've seen her last story, and she's on. She did what, 2.5 seasons?
Yes,
because this is the finale of the 9th
of her
season.
First, right? She's on the whole 10th season, and does she? I don't think she does the 11th. I think that's Sarah Jane.
So I think
Tom, because then Tom starts with season 12. I think.
Gotcha. So she's in all of the 8th season.
Mm-hmm.
And 9th, and then part of the 10th.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, hold on.
Because her first one was Terror of the Autons, which is the first one of the 8th season.
Right. And so
she's on
8,
the whole
9,
8th season. Yeah.
Then she's on with the whole 10th season too. Then.
I thought that.
Or do they switch with Sarah Jane?
The Green Death was, you're right, the 5th and final season, a serial of the 10th season. So Sarah Jane comes on at the beginning of the 11th. So yeah, I always think that, I guess I always have in my head that John Pertwee only lasted 3 seasons, but it sounds like he lasted like 5.
I think 5.
Yeah, because he's
7,
he's
8, 9, 10, and 11. Yeah, 5. Yeah. And he's on one season with Liz Shaw and then one with Sarah Jane.
Now, I do like Liz a lot. And so for those people who are like, oh, he's becoming a Joe Grant fan, I still like Liz, and I wish we got more of Liz.
Yeah, I really wish we had too. I liked Liz a lot.
Liz was fun. But Joe is better than, she's growing on me. Now, granted, there might be some really bad episodes of her out there still. And of course, once Sarah Jane comes, I'm going to forget about everybody else anyway. So.
Well, except for, the Queen of Atlantis, right?
Well, yeah, I can never forget about Ingrid Pitt.
Yeah,
I'm too much of a Hammer fan for that.
See? So, yeah, it was pretty awesome. Do you have any other final thoughts with this episode? Okay.
Not that I can think of.
Let's go ahead and rate this then. 1 out of 5 TARDISes, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Mary, I'm going to let you go first.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. It's not a great story. It's not particularly well written, even, I have to say. I mean, the plot sort of alternates between terrible and non-existent. But it has a lot of good characterization, and there's just this kind of clunky charm to it that is just, it's goofy fun. It's really fun to watch. And I love the interaction between the Doctor and Joe and the Doctor and the Master, and a lot of good secondary characters too. So I think I'm going to give it a 3.5.
Okay. Mikey?
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that assessment, but I'm going to inch it a little bit more closer to a 4. Simply because of Roger Delgado. I know you thought I was going to say Ingrid Pitt.
I thought you were going to give it a 5 because of Ingrid Pitt.
No. Look, if I like Ingrid Pitt is in Warriors of the Deep, and I know I didn't give that a 5. So just because she's in it doesn't mean it's a 5. But it doesn't hurt. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a 4. Because if you're looking for really, really good Roger Delgado master stories, this one, to me, is one of the best I've seen. So for that reason alone, it gets a 4 for me. And everything else is pretty good. Yeah, there's some nonsense in there, but I think overall it's worthy.
Okay. No, I think that's totally fair. I'm going to give it a solid 4. I enjoyed the story. I thought it was interesting. It wasn't any time in it where I was going, God, this thing is dragging, or, oh my God, this should be one episode shorter. I enjoyed it. I liked the characterizations. Some of it was just like, okay. So the Doctor ended up saving the Master from an eternity of torture from Kronos at the end. And it's like, so it's the Doctor's fault. Okay, got it. He had to actually show mercy to the Master. So
I'll tell you what, the Master's got that like distract somebody and run move down pat. He uses it like 4 times in the story. Look over there!
Every time.
Exactly, like in Bill and Ted. Hey, the Goodyear blimp! Look.
That's it's the oldest trick in the book because it works.
Yeah, kind of, sort of, and it did work perfectly for him. Yeah, it was interesting to see. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it for somebody who wants to see a Pertwee era. You don't need to know really any of the Doctor's history at this point. If, for somebody who really hasn't seen the series. I loved seeing Bessie in action.
It was fun to see Bessie.
That was
again.
great. Yeah, we didn't even mention. Good point. Yes, Bessie shines.
What was it? The super drive,
Yes.
the ultra
Yeah.
drive.
Yeah, I loved it. I'll go first, Doctor. I'm a little faster than you. It's like,
Yes.
Try to keep up.
Exactly. That was just awesome. And yeah, so it was great. And, good on Joe Grant to actually have, a lot of hairspray in, because her hair was perfect after going through the super drive. So yeah, it was pretty awesome. I would definitely give it a 4. It was great. But we definitely would love to hear from you guys at home. What did you guys think of this episode? Please write us, of course, at earthstationwho@esonetwork.com. Let us know what you think. What is your ideas on it? We'd love to hear from you guys. And speaking of you guys, we will be back again in 2 weeks. And we are going to be looking at a Big Finish adventure again. That's right. The Paternoster gang is back. And we are looking at, I guess, the second volume, the second season. And I think it's tying into one big story with it's going to eventually be 4 seasons. And it's going to be one big long story arc, because they left a lot of cliffhangers in the first one. So it's going to be nice to see Jenny, Strax, and, of course, Madame Fastra again. So it should be a lot of fun. Until then, on behalf of myself, Mr. Mike Gordon, and Mary Ogle, we will see you here next time on the Earth Station Who podcast. Peace. And we are done. Boom.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a bi-weekly pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talent from across the universe. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individual and are used for entertainment value alone. You can subscribe to our podcast up on iTunes, Stitcher, or follow our blog at www.esopodcast.com. You can also follow us up on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. If you enjoyed the show, please leave feedback up on iTunes.
The next evolutionary leap in the Thunderverse has arrived. The Ring of Thunder is a whole week's wrestling in a half hour.
What?
The Ring of Thunder is a whole week's wrestling in a half hour.
What?
Every show.
What?
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 You come up around here wedding in sexy Thor's yard like he's anything but the hammer swinging, burrito eating, mic blazing, marking out but never tapping out Lord of Thunder, like you would do anything but sit down, open your ears, and take in the Ring of Thunder wherever you find your podcasts, like you would find any other podcasts in the Thunderverse or the ESO network.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping through Amazon.com or the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.